Calling to order the Monday, March 5th, 2012 meeting of the 34th Council of the City of Berkley. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard. Councilmember Kadekel.
Here.
Councilmember Platt-Onson.
Here.
Councilmember Stedman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Here.
And Mayor O'Dwyer.
Here. First order of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Your Honor.
Been moved
Support.
by Councilmember Baker, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack. Are there any changes, additions? Hearing none. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Kadekel.
Yes.
Platt-Onson.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. The agenda has been approved. And now we will have the invocation. Please stand. We have Majid Steve Clapper with us.
Thank you. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be unto you. Peace be upon you. Shalom doesn't just mean peace. It's from a Hebrew word meaning shalem. It means completeness. It means wholeness. Making peace is completing what needs to be completed. It's fixing what is broken and needs to be fixed. In Psalm 90, we read, V'hi noam Adonai Eloheinu u'maseh yadenu konenehu. May the blessings of God be upon the work of our hands, the work that we do here on this earth. It's not just about being spiritual. It's about doing the work here, in this earth, in this city, with intent, with intention, and for the greater glory of our community as well as the greater glory of God. May the blessings of God be upon us all as we do this important work in this world. And we say,
Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we come to the Citizens' Comments portion of tonight's agenda. When you may speak, you may present your thoughts on issues that are not included on the agenda. Council members will not engage you in discussion. If your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or a department of the city, please sign your name on the sheet provided at the clerk's table. You may speak on a specific agenda item when it is being considered. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and city of residence. Well, seeing no one taking us up on that offer, then we move on to the consent agenda. Ms. Prince, would you please read tonight's consent agenda?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes, regular meeting of the 34th City Council on Monday, February 6, 2012. Item number 2, approval of the warrant number 1251. Item number 3, resolution number R13-12, matter of adopting a resolution recognizing Philip Joseph Benderchek and his attainment of the Eagle Scout. And item number 4, ordinance number O-1-12, matter of adopting ordinance number O-1-12, amending Chapter 46, Elections, Article 2, Precincts, Section 46 through 16, through Section 46 through 23 of the Berkeley City Code. Second reading.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Moved by Councilmember Kadekel.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Baker. Are there any changes? Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Platt-Onson.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Kadekel.
Yes.
And O'Dwyer.
Yes. Consent agenda has been approved. Now we move to the regular agenda. Ms. Prince, would you please read item 1 on tonight's regular agenda?
Recognitions and presentations, matter of any recognition or presentations from the consent agenda.
Thank you. I am taking a point of personal privilege tonight, and I will read the recognition of my neighbor, Phil Benderchek. A resolution of the Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan, recognizing Phil Benderchek for achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. Whereas Phil Benarchik is a junior at Berkley High School and is an active member of the National Honor Society chapter there, is an assistant captain for the Wilderness Survival Club, and an active member in the drama department as a stage crew member. And whereas Phil Benarchik is currently an active member of the Berkeley School's band program, and has been since 5th grade from Pettingill Elementary to Anderson Middle School to Berkeley High School, where he plays the tenor saxophone in the marching band and jazz band, along with the clarinet in the symphonic band and the symphonic orchestra. And whereas Phil Benarchik has been active in scouting for 10 years, since 2001 at Pettingill Elementary as part of PAC 1081, where he became a tiger cub and worked his way to wolf, then bear, then weeblo. Then in March 2006 he joined Troop 1085, where he worked to achieve the ranks of Tenderfoot, Second Class, First Class, Star, and Life. Phil has served as patrol leader, the troop scribe, and currently is serving as troop guide. And whereas to fulfill the rank of Eagle Scout, Phil Benarchik worked with the Berkeley School District Administration, along with Mr. Frederick Collins of Frederick Collins Construction and Repair, along with another local contractor by the name of Mitch from Mitch and Company, to develop a 3,000 square foot area for the high school's athletic programs, and other community athletics could use that occupied space, along with removing an eyesore and a potential liability for the community. And whereas on January 10th, 2012, Phil Benarchik passed his Eagle Scout Board of Review, Phil has earned a total of 27 merit badges, 12 of them being Eagle Scout required, which are some of the most difficult in scouting. Phil is one of 4% to achieve this honor nationally. Now therefore, the City of Berkeley resolves, Section 1, that the City Council does hereby recognize and congratulates Philip Joseph Benarchik for his achievement in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout, and expresses our pride in his accomplishments as a role model for others. Introduced and passed at a regular City Council meeting on Monday, March 5th, 2012, Phil O'Dwyer, Mayor.
Well, first I would like to recognize the individuals that are with me tonight. I'd like to recognize my mother, Donna Benarchik. I'd like to recognize my father, Matt Benarchik. I'd like to recognize my two grandparents and my brother, Luke Benarchik. I'd also like to thank Mr. Chamberlain and Mr. Miller, along with their two boys, for coming here tonight. And also Nate Davis, along with fellow Eagle Scout Colin Moran and his mother, Sally Moran. I'd also like to say thank you to Mr. Collins, who helped me considerably with the community service projects. And I would like to thank you for taking this time to recognize and congratulate me. So thank you very much, and have a nice rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. And you can please come on up here now, and we will give you the citation. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, nice. Congratulations. I know. Sorry.
You can't help it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Nice job.
Awesome. Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for not forgetting.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Phil. And congratulations to all those who are dedicated to scouting in our country. You make a significant contribution to developing leaders for the future, and we are thankful. And as your neighbor, I've seen you grow from a little boy to a fine young man, and very proud of this achievement. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 2 on tonight's agenda?
Closed session, matter of adjourning to closed session to discuss pending litigation pursuant to Section 8 of the Open Meetings Act.
Before we vote on this, I would like to alert the audience that we will be going into closed session for about 15 to 20 minutes or so, and we will be back to continue the rest of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn to closed session?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Stedman.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Terbragg. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Okay, resuming our meeting, would you please, Ms. Prince, call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Kadeco?
Here.
Councilmember Platt Onson?
Here.
Councilmember Stedman?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack?
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard? And Mayor O'Dwyer.
Here. Now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 3?
Motion number M6-12, matter of authorizing payment of $8,285.98 to the Library Network, 41365 Vincetti Court, Novi, Michigan, 48375, for the purchase of 8 Dell computers, 5 Microsoft Office licenses, and all hardware and software installation to replace existing equipment at the library.
Is there a motion to approve M612?
Motion to approve M612.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilmember Stedman, second by Mayor Pro Tem Terbrack. Ms. DeSessa.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I really don't have too much more to add after hearing the motion being made. However, this evening we do have with us our Library Director, Celia Morse. I don't know if she'd like to come before the City Council and help me address any questions that you may have. Celia, if you don't mind, just briefly tell us how these computers are used, and thank you for your time.
What we're doing here is replacing 8 computers that are used by the staff. 3 of them are our real workhorses, or the computers at the circulation desk, and without them we don't do anything at all. We're replacing the computers that the staff uses in the back room to link new books and whatever other work needs to be done. Also, my computer, my secretary's computer, and the children's librarian's computer are being replaced. The existing computers are 5 years old. They're out of warranty. We're having trouble with some of the monitors. We replaced keyboards, mice. They are used 56 hours a week for the most part, and they're worn out. This is a fairly routine thing. We have over 30 computers at the library, and rather than try and replace them at one time, we try to replace a portion of the network every year as they age, so that we're not being hit by a huge bill every time. We order them through our library cooperative, the Library Network. You can imagine I'm just one library buying 8, but there are 65 libraries buying computers through this consortium. They buy hundreds at a time. They have a deal with Dell that is better than the state pricing, so we go through them. They will set the computers up. This is the first time we're getting computers since our new IT coordinator has started, so he will work with the technician from the library network. This will give Casey an opportunity to learn how our network works. He hasn't had too much involvement at the library yet, and I am hopeful that he will be able to do our setup and installation in the future. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Celia.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for coming out tonight and for your presentation about this project here. More of a comment than a question, really. I will be supporting this. I think the idea of asset lifecycle management is important, and as you've mentioned so clearly, the opportunity to rotate the replacement schedule so it's not a one lump large amount, but rather a distributed investment over time, I think makes a lot of sense. And I also just again want to celebrate the way in which we continue to partner with the region and other libraries as part of that consortium. I think that's an important avenue, and I'm very pleased that we're continuing to support that. And not only does it benefit us financially, but also the cooperative opportunities to share best practices and things I think is terrific. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. We've been a member of that library cooperative since 1968. I think probably we're one of the pioneers in regional cooperation. Saves us a lot of money.
Very good. Thank you, Celia. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
Platt Onson,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
and O'Dwyer.
Yes. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 4?
Motion number M7-12, matter of approving amendment to the city fee schedule effective April 5th, 2012.
Is there a motion to approve M712?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Platt Onson,
Support.
support by Councilmember Kadeco. Mr. Sessa.
Council, you may recall that we had a work session at our February 6th City Council meeting regarding the proposed changes. And basically, the permit fees will affect areas with permits that relate to our electrical permits. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, but just so that the public out there will know, we'll see some changes on electrical permits, our heating permits, our plumbing permits, and last but not least, I hope, our sewer and storm drain permits, refrigeration permits, and our sign permits. I don't think that any of the recommendations that we have made are out of line. I think that they are reasonable, as we discussed at our last work session. And to help me address any questions that you may have, our city planner, Ms. Vanson, is here with us this evening. And again, Ms. Vanson, I don't know if you'd like to add anything else, but please do so. Thank you.
As we talked at the work session, as Mr. Sessa said, initially, when we have retained a new plumbing inspector, a new mechanical inspector, they had noted some updates that were needed, some different vocabulary, and as I was making those changes, I noted that it had been 5 years since our minimum fee had been increased and 10 years for some other ones, and it appeared to me to be long overdue. I think, as I stated at the work session, this would be the equivalent of a 2.5% increase if we had done it all the way along. So the changes that had been presented to you in February are before you, as Mr. Sessa indicated. These are for our trade permits, which would include plumbing, mechanical, and electrical. The sign is only when it's an electrical sign, and those reflect the minimum fees that have been increased by $5. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Vanson? Thank you, Ms. Vanson, for tonight's presentation, but also for the work session. Just to remind our viewers that we spent significant amount of time going through this at a work session a couple of weeks ago. So with that then, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Baker,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
Platt Onson,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
and O'Dwyer.
Yes. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 5 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M8-12, matter of approving the city manager to execute a contract with James K. Wright, Done Right Inspections LLC, to serve as the city's substitute building inspector.
Is there a motion to approve M812?
Motion to approve M812.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman,
Support.
support by Councilmember Baker. Ms. DeSessa.
Council, you know, for a while, I suppose, our building official, at least to my knowledge, you know, rarely takes any time off, or we've had to deal with any type of having to make any type of long-range appointments, should he need to be absent for whatever reason. But after much thought again, we decided that maybe it was time that we take a look at this issue, and we are recommending Mr. Wright to serve as our substitute building inspector. But in order for us to be able to do that, it's not just a matter that I can do on my own. This is something that requires a city council appointment and approval. And so, as indicated in our justification below, Mr. Wright provides building inspection services to the city of Lathrop Village, and to the best of our knowledge, he does a very good job. We also understand that he is familiar with our department, and he has worked in the past with Mr. Franks, who's our current building official, and he, I believe, provides substitute building inspections to Lathrop Village. So we're just going to be exchanging here individuals. Again, I know that the city planner is very much in favor of this recommendation, and we are recommending it to the city council. Ms. Vanson, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add. Please feel free, and help me, obviously, Mr. Mayor and City Council, any questions that you may have.
Again, this is one of those things when Mr. Murray, who served as our plumbing and mechanical inspector for many, many years, he was also a registered building inspector. And so the couple weeks a year that our building official, Dwayne Franks, would go on vacation, Mr. Murray would step in to do the rough building inspections that are needed so that construction doesn't grind to a halt just because somebody decides to go on vacation. So since Mr. Murray has retired, we needed to come up with something new, and as we just discussed in the last item, we have a new mechanical and new plumbing inspector. But Mr. Franks, can you believe it, still wants to go on vacation, and
Really
so
does.
he had suggested, since Lathrop Village has just retained a new building official because Mr. Murray had done the inspections there, and Mr. Franks is familiar with Lathrop Village and had worked for them for a period of time. This was his suggestion, and so he and Mr. Wright discussed it and decided as long as they don't both go on vacation at the same time, that would be bad. That would be a perfect storm, wouldn't it? That they will swap building inspection services. And I had discussed with Mr. Wright whether he had a preference on whether we enter into a intergovernmental agreement, and he said, well, I'm an independent contractor, so this would suit him better, and it is cleaner that way. So now it is before you to have a substitute building inspector. If you've got any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Venson. The type of insurance and general liability that
Yes.
this person has, is that the same as our regular inspector?
Yes, it's the same. That's required.
$1 million.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Are there any other questions? Mr. Attorney, you have reviewed this contract?
Of course. It's approved as the form.
Okay, perfect, thank you. If there aren't any other questions, then Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Kadeco?
Yes.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 6 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M9-12, matter of approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Berkley and Berkley School District for shared resources and services.
Is there a motion to approve M912?
Move to approve M912.
It's been moved by Councilmember Kadeco,
Support.
support by Councilmember Baker. Ms. DeSessa.
City Council, this item before you is very much in line with the process that the city has undertaken for many years, and that is collaborating with other groups in order to be more efficient, be more cost-effective. And obviously, it's very much in line with the governor's rules that he's currently passing, that cities work together to be able to find ways where, again, we can save tax dollars. What I'd like to do now, only because I know that he's spent a lot of significant time, I'd like to ask our Director of Public Works, to Derek Schuler, to come up and just go over some of the basics of this contract and let the City Council know exactly what this contract will do. And having said that, I do know that he worked very closely with the attorneys from both the school and the City of Berkeley. And I know it's taken quite a while to get this done, but our attorney has been very adamant in making sure that this contract meets the needs of the city. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Schuler, and he can just go over very briefly the intent of this contract. Thank you.
Good evening. The agreement before you today is a similar agreement to something I worked with in a different community. So I took the steps with the initial draft and then worked with Dale to fine-tune it. Basically, what's before you is an agreement to primarily share unleaded fuel and rock salt. City of Berkeley providing that to the school district. That's really the heart and soul of this agreement. I think it will lead possibly to other items in the future, but that's truly the focus of what's before you tonight. There were several changes requested by the school district, and those were made with Dale's assistance. The appendices in the very back of the agreement are the heart and soul of the agreement, and those unit prices that are there can change from time to time and will change from time to time, depending on what we pay for fuel and salt. So those will change, and as the price changes, we will pass along those costs as such to the school district for monthly billing. So it's been reviewed several times and several changes, and I think we finally reached the point where we've got everybody in agreement, and we would like to move forward with it at this time. And I probably will be looking to bring something similar to Jane for Huntington Woods as well, since this is truly providing the same things that we provide for Huntington Woods. We'll revisit that and maybe get it consistent with the appendices that are in this agreement as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Schuler? Councilmember Platt Onson.
Quick question, I'm not sure which could address it. Could you tell me a little bit about the benefit to the city and benefit to the school system in doing something like this?
Derek, I mean, we've discussed this, but please.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I would certainly say that the financial benefit is greater for the schools here. There is a minor financial gain for us, but really we're trying to cover costs in this effort. So the financial gain is really with the school district for this effort. And we're passing along the costs for the material, for the labor, for the equipment used necessary to provide salt and fuel. But financially, I think the benefit is certainly with the school district.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kadek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Schuler. I know it was just over 3 months ago you were showing me the proposed agreement, and I want to thank you for diligently, following through with this and working with the city attorney and city manager. And I also want to make a comment, just as we saw with the library network a few items ago, working together and collaborating is a win-win for everyone, and I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes, thank you, sir. And also thank you for coming out tonight and for the presentation and for the work that went into this and in the subsequent considerations that will be coming down the road. A quick question concerning the nature of the contract. Again, it's consumption-based, right? So it's variable over time. It's not like a flat monthly rate or anything like that.
That is true. It's truly based on consumption, and units, if you will, will be tracked each time a load is taken or a gallon of fuel is taken. So we'll track those and then bill them appropriately.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And just for everyone's aware, there is a 30-day out clause just in case this is not working for the city. Derek and I discussed it, and we felt it would be best for whatever reason, if in case it turns around that it's not beneficial for us or detrimental, then we're able to get out of it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Just a quick question, Mr. Schuler. Say the district needs some fuel and we're running low on fuel. Who gets it?
And good question. The provision of this deal is the host community gets the first shot at everything. So if we ever get in a situation where we're running low on fuel or salt, the city of Berkeley has the ability to say that we can't provide it at that time. So that was added.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. We use beet juice sometimes instead of salt. There's no beet juice involved in this arrangement.
In this arrangement, it's pure rock salt, so no brine or beet juice in this
Okay.
arrangement. I don't believe they have the equipment at this point to utilize those.
Very good. Well, it's nice to see the collaborative effort between the city and the school district. We fundamentally serve the same community, and working together sends an important signal of the taxpayer that funds all of it is the same person, basically the residents of this city. So thank you for your work in this, and thank the school district as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Then, with that, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on M912?
Ed Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Ms. Prince, will you please read item number 7?
Motion number M10-12, matter of authorizing the 21st Annual Crap Walk Against Hunger on Sunday, May 6, 2012, at 2 o'clock p.m. The walk will begin and end at Berkley Greenfield Presbyterian Church and stop at various churches for breaks.
Is there a motion to approve M1012?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman and support by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack. Ms. DeSessa.
Council, the only thing I'd like to add is that this is an annual event. It has come before you, and we are recommending you support this request. The only other thing I'd like to add is that our Public Safety Department has also reviewed it, and they are recommending it as well. And finally, I'd just like to go over just some of the information that Reverend Peter Moore provides to the City Council, just to let the public know a little bit about this walk. This event is organized by a coordinating committee of representatives from churches and synagogues, and it is a way in which they come together. And all of the money that they raise goes directly to mission work, 75% to the Church World Service or other relief organizations as designated by this group, and 25% of the funds that are raised are given to the SOCH Welcome Inn. Over the past 20 years, walkers from the congregations have raised over $207,000. This walk is one of 145 local walks in Michigan whose combined efforts have raised millions of dollars for charity. And in his letter, Reverend Moore also states that the state of Michigan is the leading fund-raising state in the country for Church World Service. Again, we are recommending this walk for your consideration, Council, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't think there are any representatives this evening. No? Okay. Thank you.
Are there any questions, discussion on this item?
I just came into possession of the maps,
Okay.
routes.
Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Sir.
Now, one of the things I notice here for those people who may not be able to walk 10K, there is also a Miracle Mile walk nested within this whole event so that a person could walk a significantly shorter little jaunt and contribute to this worthy cause. The Pastoral Association, or the Berkeley Clergy Association, does remarkable work for our faith community and for our community in general. And this is one other example of what they do, and I certainly will be supporting this tonight. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
Clyde Onson?
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 8?
Motion number M11-12, matter of authorizing the Knights of Columbus, 2299 West 12 Mile Road, Berkley, Michigan, to conduct a Tootsie Roll Drive in various intersections in the city of Berkeley on March 30th through April 1st, 2012, from 7 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m.
Is there a motion to approve M1112?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Terbrack,
Support.
support by Councilmember Kadekel. Mr. Sessa.
Council, again, this is another item that appears for you on an annual basis. We are recommending approval of this request. In reviewing the letter that was prepared by our Chief Director Eschman, he indicates that in reviewing the proposal, it seems that everything will go as planned. However, he does indicate that there may be a small chance that that the intersection of 12 Mile and Woodward may also be involved. And again, he indicates that this will be small. Again, Chief Eschman states that this event has always been conducted without any problems, and he is also recommending for your consideration. Chief Eschman, I don't know if you'd like to add anything else and help me address any questions that the Mayor and City Council may have.
The slight possibility is just that they get more collectors than anticipated, and they have extra people. Depending how traffic flow is and whatnot, they may go down to Woodward and 12 Mile also as a secondary intersection. If they do so, they will notify us, and we will monitor that as the other intersection at 12 and Coolidge, and also the private businesses where they'll be collecting. Questions?
Very good. Any questions for the Chief? Seeing none, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Kadekel,
Yes.
Platt Onson,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Ms. Prince, can you please read item number 9?
Resolution number R14-12 to approve the purchase of financial and community development software upgrades from BSNA Software Management Company with the cost of $29,105 to be spread over a 3-year period.
Is there a motion to approve R1412?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Baker,
Support.
support by Councilmember Platt Onson. Mr. Sessa.
Council, I know that our Finance Director, David Sabuda, has been working very diligently in putting this item before you. We are recommending it for your consideration. And before I turn it over to the representative to give you a little idea as to what this software is all about, I'd like to say that ordinarily, I would have liked to, because of the cost of this item, I would have liked to have taken it to the City Council during our budget process. But because of the need for us to update and maintain our computer software program, it is essential that we address it today. And one of the ways that we felt that this cost could be managed by the city is that we are recommending that it be broken up into 3 years. However, if you approve this request, Mr. Mayor, City Council, please know that this will be placed in our budgets for the next 3 years if it's approved, just so you know. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Sabuda to introduce our guests this evening and to tell you a little bit more about how this software will work. Thank you. Mr. Sabuda?
Thank you, Madam Manager. Mayor, City Council, good evening. What we have before you today is, as the manager has pointed out, upgrade to our current software package. First and foremost, I've worked with a lot of software packages, and the BSNA software package is outstanding. This is just heads and tails, heads above the competitors, in my opinion, and I'm thrilled to be able to bring this item to you this evening. We currently have a financial package that includes all the operations of the city. We also have a building package, and what BSNA is offering is a reduced rate. They're giving us a 75% discount on the upgrade, plus an additional 20% discount on the building package. They've given us interest-free financing over a 3-year period. We would anticipate that we'd make the first payment this year, the 11-12 fiscal year, and you'll see in the next item, the budget amendment, and then the next 2 years thereafter making the final payments. What's happening here is we're going from a pervasive database to a SQL Server database, which in turn will make the system run faster, be more efficient. We'll be able to offer more obtain more software packages to keep operation efficient. And those software packages we don't have right now, but eventually we could obtain. And at the end of the day, it's going to make the outer facilities, such as DPW, recreation, PSO department, when they're using the software, they will be able to manage their processes faster. And that's what this package comes to us. And at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but one day this current software is going to be obsoleted. And it comes a day when they say they're no longer in a service. So we're preempting that position by upgrading the software now. Mr. Kurt Kramer from BSNA Software is here. We'll be happy to answer any and all questions regarding the software the software upgrade. Mr. Mayor, it's your pleasure.
Thank you. Mr. Kramer, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, Mr. Spodas pretty much spoke, all the advantages. It's, I guess one thing I will add as far as not only are you going to an SQL server for the back end, the database, but also the platform itself, the front end went from C++ to .NET platform. So it's just everything within, we're using more advanced technology and everything, so we're able to do a lot more with the software. So that's one of the reasons where, as far as upgrading, we're able to do so much more. So you have a lot more features, and it's more streamlined. You can do a lot more and make the process go much more efficient.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate your presence and willingness to answer any questions. Are there any questions? Oh.
One other item, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep.
The hardware piece of it. We're going to spend $4,100. That piece of the puzzle is going to happen before June 30th. What happens here is we're getting a robust server to put this software on, and what ends up happening here is we have more room to grow and expand, okay? Because we're not going to get rid of any of the other hardware pieces that we have. Those pieces of equipment will still be on hand, so we have expanded our database or our capability of managing information. So that is very important also. So this is a big step. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Discussion from the council. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for coming out tonight. We greatly appreciate it when the folks that we consider doing business with come out and have an opportunity to speak with us. So thank you for that, and for your work with the finance department and our IT coordinator too, to help ensure a smooth project if we should approve this tonight. I did a little bit of research on this as well. Certainly in it's kind of a niche vertical market as this, there's not a lot of players or options. It's not like we could go to the local software store and buy an app for this. So certainly it's very specialized, dedicated software. And the small bit of research that I did affirmed your testimony here about the quality of the product. So I feel good about that. So thank you for helping with that piece.
Thank you.
I did also want to point out, too, that we're real pleased that this is a Michigan-based company that we're considering here tonight. I think that's important to show how, again, we're working together. And I'm sure you serve other municipalities as well, and I'm glad to help support Michigan here. I did have a couple of quick questions. If you could, without getting into too much detail, a couple of process questions concerning the data migration process. So things in terms of, because obviously this is the city's information here that's in the system, and so the accuracy and quality of the data before, during, and after the transition is going to be important to all of us. If you could hint on that a little bit on the test and migration strategy.
Yeah, essentially what we do for when you upgrade, go through the conversion, everything. It's you might be down for a few hours or so because we do have to convert the data, so we need exclusive access to that, so that way we can run the conversion. But we're going from an older version to a newer one, so it's a complete conversion. Pretty much everything carries over. There are a few settings that do need to get reset up just because we've made changes to the software and everything. But that's where we'll have a trainer out the very first couple of days that you've upgraded. That way to make sure everything goes smoothly, that we get everything set up properly. But the data itself will completely convert over.
Great, and would we still have access to the old data if for some reason, knock on wood and all that stuff, if something were to happen and it wouldn't be corrupted or destroyed or anything?
That's correct, yeah. You would have full access to that. We usually leave the software at least installed in one workstation. We try to take it away from some of the other ones just because out of habit you might go into the old package, and make some changes and realize that, hey, it's not in there, and it's because you put it in the old version. So you would still have access to it, but we might limit that a little bit. and when I say limit, it's more on a per workstation basis, not actual limit to the data itself.
Great. And then on the rollout to the employees, you mentioned a couple of hours outage. Would that be on the back end with the server, or is that per workstation? And
That would be like complete, like anything that you're doing financially. And, we were obviously more than willing to work with you guys. So if that's going to be an issue, we can either do something overnight or over a weekend or something to accommodate you. But typically, it's usually not too big of an issue just to bring the system down for a couple hours while we're converting all the data.
Great, thanks. I would trust that it would be coordinated properly.
The game plan is to have the database converted over the day before, so when the trainer comes in and the employees come in, they're starting on the new screens and dealing with the new software. We're also planning on doing the financial package first, which would probably be after this current budget process. So we're looking at June, July, and then the building piece would come online probably in October. If we go really smooth with the financial piece, then we would jump to the business piece or the building piece, as long as the planning department, the building department would be able to come up to speed with us.
Great, thank you. You anticipated my timing question. I'm curious if we were to proceed when something like this might arrange, and given the fact that we're just formally entering the budget season here, that I'm glad to hear that we're taking that in consideration.
Yeah, that's big. And at the end of the day, I don't suspect that we're going to have a lot of training here because the software is going to be close and everybody is used to this type of software. So I'm very happy with the amount of dollars we've budgeted for that training piece. They should pick it up. People should pick it up very fast.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks.
Mr. Sessom.
The only thing I'd like to add, City Council, is that I know that Mr. Sabuda has also spoken with some of the other cities that have gone through this change, and according to them, they indicate, and I'm hoping this will be the case for us as well, that the transition has been very smooth, and that BSNA is very well informed and educated on this process, and it should not take us a long while for this transition.
The best quote I heard was, "They're out in the morning, we go to lunch, and then they go home."
Let's hope that's what happens.
Very good. Any other questions? Well, it certainly is important for us to update our technology and our software so that we can serve the people efficiently and do our work efficiently. One question that comes to my mind is data security. I assume there are adequate provisions for securing this data, these data.
Oh yeah, you guys essentially have all the data yourself. I mean, it's on your server, your network, and everything. So you guys have full control over all of that. We don't actually, keep anything on our end at all. It's strictly on your end. And as far as the database itself, it's secured through SQL and everything. So
very good.
If I may add, everything's password driven.
Okay.
Okay, everything is password driven. And even getting from the net in is password driven. And we have the standard firewall set up in order to ensure that the necessary information does pass through and the unnecessary information doesn't pass through. So all that's taken care of.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you for being here, Mr. Kramer. And with that, then, if there aren't any other questions, Ms. Prince, please call the roll on 1412.
Baker?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
Clyde Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Thank you.
thank you.
Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 10?
Resolution number R15-12, matter of approving budget amendments to fiscal year 2011-2012.
Is it a motion to approve R1512?
Move to approve.
Support?
Move to approve by Councilman Kadeco, and Mayor Pro Tem has a second. Mr. Sessa.
Council, again, in order for our budget to be in line, throughout the month, we make some changes to our budget, and we want to make sure that it correctly reflects any changes that the City Council will approve. And with that, what I'd like to do is ask our Finance Director, Mr. Sabuda, to go over exactly what those items are. Mr. Sabuda?
Thank you again, Madam Manager, Mayor, City Council. You have tonight before you on this item 5 amendments, 4 dealing with the general fund, 1 dealing with the Downtown Development Authority. There is new spending in these 5 amendments totaling $69,165. Okay, out of that, $40,800 is going to be in the general fund. I'm sorry. $49,165 is going to be out of the general fund, and $20,000 will be out of the Downtown Development Authority. If we could go to the items, item number 1A deals with the building section, and this is good news. What we're seeing here is we're seeing an uptick in permits, and the first item is building permits, electrical permits, heating permits, and plumbing permits. We're getting more. People are doing work in the neighborhoods. They're starting to improve their homes, and we're coming into that spring season, and we're starting to see that. We're seeing an upgrade of revenues of about $37,000. With that comes the inspection piece, where the building, electrical, mechanical people have to go out and inspect. So we're increasing by another $9,500. The good news here is we have revenues on hand to pay for the expenses. Okay? Any questions on A? Okay, moving to B then. This is, what we're doing here is in the finance department. This is the first installment of the computer software. We're moving monies out of a consulting line item that we're not going to use for this fiscal year into our office equipment line item to make the first installment payment to BSNA software. We're also, we had to buy some additional checks for our vendors. So we're picking up those costs and offsetting those from another line item where we're not going to be spending any appropriation on it. Total $9,300. Item C deals with the public safety department. The $31,300,000 in additional expenses basically deals with the fire extrication equipment. We have the federal grant that has come in and has been appropriated for $28,500. The balance, what we have to do first is appropriate the expense so that we can write the check to the vendor, Apollo, for the extrication equipment. Also, there's an additional $2,800 that we have to appropriate for that the general fund is going to pick up. As you can see, part of the line items being offset there is picking up the extrication equipment, that extra $2,800. Now, what we're also doing here is funding for an additional public safety officer, not an additional one. We're filling the open position. Okay, if you'll recall, we had one of our officers went to Iraq, okay, and being gone for a period of time, we brought in a new officer. So with that, we would have a full complement of staff on hand. That officer has come back from Iraq, okay, and is back on staff. Funding runs out for the officer who was filling in for him on February the 26th. What we're doing now is, with savings that we have in other line items, filling that position for the balance of the fiscal year June 30th. We would then in turn appropriate for that new officer, filling that open position that we have. We would then again do that in July 1. You'll see that in the normal budget process. So what we're doing here, if you recall, back on July 1, 2011, we had an open public safety officer position. We are now filling that open public safety officer position. Okay? Any questions here on the third item? Total additional cost, $31,300. Moving to item D. This is the hardware piece of the this is the hardware piece for the BSNA software, $4,100. We are not going to be using a vendor, and those dollars are then going to be used to fund for the equipment that we had spoke about in the last item. Total $4,100. And then the last item is a Downtown Development Authority item. Back in early February, the board had approved a $20,000 value to have winter maintenance, winter snow removal. This was an annual item that the DDA has appropriated for, except this past year they did not. They were waiting to see what the original, how the program was going to work the prior year with the vendor. So back in February, the board had reached a consensus that they were going to appropriate the $20,000. It doesn't appear that they're going to use it, but at the end of the day, they have appropriated for it, and of course, for the line item to become live, the council must also approve in accordance with state law. So that amendment is before you this evening, and that would be for $20,000. That would come out of the 2 mil levy fund, not the general fund, and that would come from the fund balance of the 2 mil levy fund. And Madam Manager, Mayor, and Council, that concludes the budget amendments. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Sabuda? Councilmember Pat Onson.
A couple of quick questions. I'm going to work backwards.
Okay.
From the one you just did.
Sure.
So, assuming it doesn't snow anymore.
Right.
This 20,000,
What'll happen is.
nothing happens with it?
It will lapse back to the fund balance of the 814 2 mil levy fund. So basically, it would, what happens, you're not going to spend it, it would go back to your fund balance.
Okay.
Okay.
And then one last question. On the permits, you had mentioned that we're seeing an increase in number of permits. Does any of this account for the fee changes we're making, or as we're going into the next year, could we see an additional revenue increase from the changes in the permit fees?
We should see an additional increase due to the change in into the permit fees. We're seeing more permits being pulled.
Okay, great.
That's what's
That's a
happening. Yes.
Wonderful two-part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Sabuda? Seeing no questions, then Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on R 1512?
Kadeco?
Yes.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. And now we come to the communications portion of tonight's meeting, and I believe Ms. Platt Onson, or
Correct.
Councilmember Platt Onson is first up.
Just one quick thing this evening, just a reminder that the Berkley Home Show is Saturday, March 17th. Both the Tree Board and the Environmental Advisory Committee will have booths there, so if you want information on the wonderful tree planting program that we have, feel free to go talk to them and sign up to receive information when the trees and timing is available. That's all. Thanks.
Councilmember Kadeco.
Just want to wish everyone happy St. Patrick's Day. And after you go to the home show, enjoy your day. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple quick announcements. First, this Saturday, March 10th, beginning at 6 p.m., the Berkley Parks and Recreation is hosting a cartoon theater. We had a couple of these last year, and they seem to be very successful, very popular, so they are coming back again. This begins, as I said, at 6 p.m. It's $2 for youth and seniors, $3 for adults, or $8 for the family. It's at the community center, and they will have concession stands or concession items at the event. So I certainly hope that families will be able to attend this. Again, it'll be a great time to show some older cartoons, classic cartoons, some animated short films. There will be a nice variety of cartoons there, so please come out. Also with Parks and Recreation, the Friends of the Parks and Recreation are looking to get kick-started again. They sort of got going, and then there was a bit of a lull. But they are planning on having their first meeting March 14th at 7 p.m. also at the community center. We had a number of people involved in that organization before, and we'd like to get them involved again. There are a number of projects in the city that we want to accomplish, and a volunteer group such as the Friends can have a significant impact on what we can do for the Parks and Recreation offerings in our community. So again, that is March 14th at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was Albert Einstein who once said, "The only reason for time is so that everything doesn't happen all at once." And basically, he said, the only reason for time is so that everything doesn't happen all at once. And I'm very grateful we have time because there's been so much going on lately that as you've already heard, so many interesting events and opportunities coming up here. The high school robotics event recently, the Michigan Municipal League Weekender, the Crispelli's grand opening, Planning Commission talking about the TOD report, the transit-oriented development, the cartoon theater. Discussions next week on the city goals and with the school board and all that stuff. The home show, as was mentioned, the Capitol Conference, so many great things happening. I would just highlight a couple real quickly here. On Friday, February 24th, there was a public event held at the Detroit Zoo having to do with transit. And in particular, the topic was the notion of bus rapid transit, or rolling rapid transit is what they call it. And we had some folks in from, Cleveland, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, the Federal Transit Authority, At the state level, the governor's transit folks were there to talk about some potential designs and options for transit in the area. It was very well attended. There was over 140 people in attendance at the Detroit Zoo. They have a wonderful auditorium for such events. And what was great about it was not only the folks from this region getting together to talk about transit options and things that we could consider and look forward to as ways to increase mobility and have greater choice and options to get from point A to point B, but the presenters were bringing real-world stories, real facts, real figures, real videos, real testimony of the benefits that their communities have seen in terms of the return on investment. So when you put a system in place such as this, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money to do something like this. And so to hear the real stories from folks that have taken that journey, put those systems in place, and received tremendous benefits in terms of economic development to their region, the property values, the quality of life, the attractiveness, the sense of place that those communities have realized because of such an option. It's encouraging to see that those kinds of things are real and that we might be on the cusp of something like that. And by cusp, I mean 3 to 5 years, but still, it's a great step forward, and so that was an excellent session. We have some materials that are available, and we'll be leaving these with the city here, and certainly if there's anyone that's interested, has questions about that, we'd love to talk about this. Certainly you'll be hearing more about this as well in the months to come. Our Downtown Development Authority, our DDA, meets next week's Wednesday, March 14th at 7:30 in the morning. And the conversations, among other things, will continue to include the intersection at 12 Mile and Coolidge. And briefly, they'll be talking again about the costs of the program, the potential design, and then some timing considerations, including, to put it simply, whether they kind of do the whole intersection all at once or if they break it up into quadrants. There's certainly pros and cons to those different approaches, and that'll be part of the conversation. And finally, the Historical Committee meets again on the Sunday, March 18th at 4 o'clock. And they'll be talking about the upcoming book and doing some historical photo scanning into the computer and things like that. So again, we're glad that we have time, and I think my time's about up. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Baker. Councilmember Stedman.
Just one thing, I wanted to congratulate Chris Bellis on a wonderful grand opening. It certainly was packed in there over the weekend. And also to remind people that there are 2 other restaurants in that little shopping center that we can't forget about, Uncle Andy's Pizzeria and the Panini Press. Is that all there is? Yeah. And make sure you still frequent them. They sell similar things. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sessa.
Council, I have a few items to discuss with you this evening, and I'll do my best to be brief. Well, the first item is a very important item that's near and dear to my heart, and I know that you all are anxious to begin, and that is to begin my annual evaluation. I know we're a little bit behind on that. I know, I'm going to pass. Don't worry, Josephine. I'll be okay. At least I hope so. But that is something I'd like to request, and that I'd also like to be official in saying that this evaluation be conducted on as an executive session item. For timing purposes, Council, I'm hoping, I'll discuss this with the mayor a little bit, it will either appear within the next 2 weeks or in the meeting in April. I just want to make sure that I give you enough time to go over the evaluation report and give it over to the mayor so that he can finalize it, and then we can sit down and work on it. So that is item number 1. Thank you. I look forward to that. Then also, I know that Councilman Baker mentioned a lot of things that he was working on, and he's absolutely right. I don't know what we do without time. Councilman Baker has been instrumental in working with several committees on the issue regarding transit, and I know that's something that's very near and dear to his heart. And very recently, late last week, I'm pleased to say that he was our primary rep to testify before the Senate Transportation Committee to ask them to to favorably pass Senate Bills 909, 911, and 912. Also, in attendance at this meeting, besides both he and I, Councilman Kadekel was there, and also our city planner was there. So we had a good force at this meeting. And I'm pleased to report that the majority of the individuals that were at the session all spoke very favorably of these bills. And again, just to kind of give you a summary about it, the primary issue was to encourage the Senate committee to consider this regional transportation system, and that's really the issue behind it all. We asked them to do this. You know, what I like to do, and very briefly, Councilman Baker wrote this incredible report, and he gave this testimony. And I think when he stated, I'd just like to read it very quickly here. When he talks about the region as to why we need a transit authority, he stated, for regional transportation in the Metro Detroit area to become a reality, we understand the value of and support the call for a regional transit authority. Best practices from across the country assure us that such an authority is a fundamental enabler to building and maintaining a high-quality system, and that is also a foundational requirement to establishing the public, political, and financial support for such a system. But earlier on, he also indicates that regional transit provides a crucial means to achieve our desired ends, enabling economic development, providing greater access to jobs and employers, boosting property values, filling vacant buildings, lowering traffic congestion, reducing the wear on public roads, minimizing the impact of fluctuating gas prices, and offering choices to our residents, businesses, and visitors that provide them with greater flexibility and freedom to go about their lives. And I'd say for the most part, that was the message that was sent by most of the people that attended that meeting. I believe, again, I don't remember counting all the individuals that were there, but the majority were for these Senate bills. I think we had maybe 2 individuals that felt that it should not be approved. I'd just like to share this with you and thank Councilman Baker for his representation. He did an excellent job. My testimony was very brief compared to his, and I just simply supported his recommendation and reminded the committee that, like all governments right now, we are all collaborating, and this authority would just be in the similar mode. And I believe I also stated that this was just collaboration was just the new normal, and it's something that we all had to work together. So we're hoping that the Senate committee will consider this favorably. Then also, I'd like to remind or inform everybody, just to give you guys a little bit of heads up, that on Saturday, April the 14th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., here at our Public Safety Fire Hall, we are going to be conducting our rabies vaccination clinic. And so we ask everybody who's got a pet, please come on down and bring your pet and get them vaccinated. We are offering vaccinations at $5. Now, I'd like to ask the city clerk, are we also going to provide, if anybody needs a license fee for their pets, will we also be doing that as well? Okay, so if anybody needs a license or needs to update their licensed pet, you'll be able to get it there as well. A 1-year license for spayed or neutered pets is just $5. Of course, if they're not, then it's an extra $5. I guess it's a little bit of an encouragement to do this. And we also offer 2-year licenses and 3-year licenses. And again, they're very reasonable. I believe the 2-year license is $10 and the 3-year license is $15. But again, it all depends if your pet is neutered or spayed. And then lastly, I'm going to add in a little bit of a sad note. I just heard late last week that Patricia Stokey, is that correct? Stowe, she had been our deputy city planner, deputy city clerk, thank you, deputy city clerk for over 27 years, and she retired as our deputy clerk, and she passed away this past Thursday on March 1st at home. I'm just taking a look at her notice here, her obituary, and she certainly had a wonderful family, and in her obituary, she indicates that of all the things that were more important to her, her role as a wife, mother, grandmother, and great grandmother were the best of all. So again, my sincerest condolences to the Stowe family, and again, this is very difficult. I'm hoping that they'll do very well. So thank you to Patricia for being our deputy city clerk for all those years, and again, we wish them sincerest condolences. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sessa. Mr. Sabuda.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider.
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Very good. Well, I've just a couple of little items, not so little actually. The reference to Albert Einstein by Councilmember Baker reminded me that March 14th is National Pi Day, because, of course, the mathematicians will know 3.14 is the value of pi. It is also, interestingly enough, Albert Einstein's birthday, born on, in 1879 on the 14th of March. So thank you for reminding us of the bright and talented Albert Einstein. I'd like to thank our city manager for her references to the work of Councilmember Baker. He brings extraordinary talent, enormous energy, and skilled leadership to this whole question of regional transportation and regional transit systems. And we're especially proud that you are serving our community in such a wonderful way, and we hope you can continue with that leadership. It makes us, all of us, look good, and it offers leadership to the region that is certainly needed. And on a final note, March 17th will come before our next meeting, and I should wish my colleagues on the council, the administration, and all our residents, Láil a Fádric fe Hénas fe Washiv Galéir. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And now we move on to the work session. Ms. Prince, would you please call item A on tonight's work session?
City fee schedule, matter discussing changes to the city fee schedule as it pertains to the Public Safety Department.
Mr. Sessa.
Council, I know you have this information in front of you, and I will ask Chief Eshman to please step forward and address any questions that you may have. Again, Council, some of these fees have not been changed in I guess for a long period of time, and I know that our Public Safety Director and his staff have reviewed them very carefully and have done some comparisons with other cities as to how or where we stand in comparison. So we are recommending these fees for your consideration, and if we get the nod from you this evening, we will bring this to you at our next council meeting. Chief Eshman? Thank you.
There are 5 areas that we're looking to change. 2 of them are simply bookkeeping. Deal with them first. Gun purchases, registrations. On the books, we currently have a charge for that. By state law and by policies of the county, we are not charging anymore. We're not allowed to charge. And we haven't done so for many years. We just need to take this off the books. Another one would be fingerprinting. We do not do fingerprinting anymore. We send them to the Department of Company requesting prints, so the fee for that would be eliminated. Again, both of those will just be in as Prince's records. Now, the 3 that we are recommending increases in would be preliminary breath tests for people so sentenced to take them from courts. The second would be DVDs or CDs, audio-video recordings that are requested, 98% or so of which are done by defense counsels relative to cases going to court. Last area is an interim bond fee that we're going to attach. We would like to attach. First, preliminary breath tests. We did this in 2 ways. First, the time required, the materials required for us to conduct these processes. And the second is, what is the market out there? What do other people charge? There seems to be some correctness or appropriateness, coming in somewhere at or a little below the average that is charged. So we looked at it from both viewpoints. We compared ourselves with 9 surrounding jurisdictions to see what others were doing, and then again, we assessed the time and materials we have into it. Preliminary breath tests. When so sentenced by a court, people who've been convicted of drunk driving have to come to a police station and take a breathalyzer test. It's done on a portable instrument. It's done with a little straw supplied either by the person so sentenced or by the police agency. It takes probably 5 to 10 minutes of an officer's time. It might take more if the officer has to be called in off the street, but normally it's done by one already working inside. The straw is minimal, a few cents. The instrument, I suppose, wears out with time, $400 or $500 for an instrument. The market out there is 2 of the communities do not charge. One of those is for residents only, the other is for their court system only. The others charge. 3 of them charge $5, 3 of them charge $10, 1 charges $25. We're recommending a $5 fee. Low end of the average at this point. We perform now approximately 100 tests a month, so 1,200 a year, those tests. And again, up to this point, we have not charged, but we only allowed it for people sentenced out of 45A court or our residents. Now we would open it to anyone.
Okay, are there any questions about this item? Councilmember Bacon.
Yes, Chief, thank you for coming out for your diligence in researching the appropriateness, not only of proceeding with these, and then, of course, the proposed schedule we see before us tonight. As it pertains to the PBTs, I'm glad that you explained what that was, because not having had one of those, I wasn't sure what the acronym meant, so I'm very pleased that I didn't know what
Good,
PBT
yes,
stood for,
me too.
and I'm very pleased that we're pursuing this as appropriate. So on that process, is this something that any one particular person would do just once in the course of that process, or is this a recurring thing for some amount of time? I was just curious.
Recurring theme. The court isn't interested in just one day of
Right.
sobriety. The court is interested in a probationary period, and Mr. Schneider would know more about how the sentencing goes on this, but sometimes it's at intervals, sometimes it's daily.
A lot of times it is daily. When you have a severe, when you have somebody with a parent problem, a lot of judges will do a 90-day PBTs where they have to come in every day. And in fact, some judges I've seen make them do twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening, to basically ensure the sobriety. Just another way of trying to keep people off the sauce, basically.
Well, now, in addition to all the other reasons, there's an additional financial incentive to stay on the straight and narrow, as they say.
That's an understatement.
Thank you.
Well, just following up on that, it seems maybe a burden for people also to run it up to $25 if you had to do it twice a day for 90 days.
A lot of courts don't look at that aspect of it, and I think they probably shouldn't to a certain extent. You know, I don't think money should really be that much of a factor in trying to make sure this type of conduct stops. If that what it takes for some people, I can't do anything but stand behind it. Unfortunately, sometimes the costs do get out of hand. I think $5 is very reasonable. I know a lot of other police departments that basically charge in that area. I think it's good. It covers the police officers, the police department's time, and you know the time of the officer and the little tube that they have to replace, even though it's a few cents. I think it's more of the officer's time that we're basically just trying to recoup.
But I think it's the result of the test that matters.
Oh yes,
fundamentally here.
And
rather than the cost.
there's paperwork that goes along with it that the court requires the defendant to bring in to show that they have, basically have zeros every time. Anytime there is not zeros, usually that person is going to be seeing the judge very quickly.
I suspect. I suspect. Are there any other item, anything else on this PBT discussion? Are we in general consensus about $5, about the recommendation here on this? Okay? Just consensus on that one. Okay, Chief, go to the next one.
Second area would be DVDs or CDs. Again, this is 95, 98% driven by defense attorneys wanting to make certain that the police department has, in fact, probable cause for what they do and that everything has been done according to the rules. Some defense attorneys will request a lot more documentation than others. Up to this point, we have not been differentiating between them, one set sort of fee. On the books, we have a $5 for audio and $15 for video, but we've kind of been lumping them together, and now we wish to do it in a more precise fashion. Time-wise, it's simple to go to the computer and hit a certain incident, hit a certain time frame, and record it. So it has to stand by, it might take 10 minutes or something. The bigger problem, however, comes in when you're going to disseminate information, you have to redact certain things that are not related to that incident. You have to redact certain privileged information, medical information. That's obviously, a defense attorney will get a lot more of that than somebody else simply under the Freedom of Information Act or other vehicles of obtaining this information. But you have to edit some of this. You have to make sure a source of information is not identified to the bad guy. So you have to review these, and we turn them over through either directly or through the prosecutor to the defense attorneys. Sometimes it's done through the county. Most often it's done simply by the attorney sending someone to pick it up. So it's very time-consuming preparation. Maybe a half hour to an hour of time for each set that you have to do. Then we go to the market out there. And the market is all over the board. It ranges from one neighboring jurisdiction that charges $10 per to two that charge $75 per disc. We have one at 15, one at 20, two at 50, one at 55, one at 65, and two at 75. We're recommending $25 per disc. Okay, that would leave 3 below us, 8 above us. Again, we're way on the low end. But we feel that that's appropriate. We feel that it is going to reimburse us for the time spent, for the officer's time. I get involved in every discovery order filled, every request I have to get involved in. I have to approve it. I have to review it first. The records administrator, Ms. Frost, has to review this stuff. She's the one who processes it for the attorneys or the requester, other than an attorney. So we feel we're on the low end of the market, but it's more than appropriate. We probably do 5 or 6 a week.
A week?
Per week.
Any discussion on this item?
Sounds fine.
Is consensus then that we agree with the $25 being reasonable?
It's extremely reasonable.
Well, I know, because they're
Overly
all
reasonable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, does that imply a suggestion?
I guess, Chief, we have, with it being so all over the board, and it seems like 8 so high. I mean, I know that we're looking basically to recoup our time and that it takes to do these things, but is $25 really recouping our time adequately? I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty intensive process. I don't think, say 30 or 35, somewhere that puts us closer to the middle of the range is out of the question. It just seems that, I mean, if there are neighboring cities or cities around here charging 75, I'm just curious as to why we decided. I mean, I know we want to stay in the middle, on the low side of the middle, but 25 might even be a little low.
It might be, and the reason we settled on that, we were looking at 35 or 40 to be both on a median average as well as a mean average in the computation. However, most of these are very simple to produce. on the low end, the majority of them. Most of them don't involve a confidential conversation, a 911 conversation with a homeowner living next door to someone accused of some heinous offense, where we have to protect identities. Most of them don't involve medical information or sensitive information. Zip zap and out. So we kind of tried to play to that at this point. We will, however, monitor these to see after we come out with these charges where the market is going, both in terms of other jurisdictions and the requesters. We'll try to see if this has changed what is being requested and if it becomes more time consuming for us or not. But we felt also 25 was extremely reasonable for what we're doing.
Well, if you're confident with it, then I certainly am. I just want to make sure we're where we should be.
No, and I hear you. If anything, we're low,
Okay.
but I felt that if anything, we wanted to be low.
Okay. So then is there consensus agreement with the chief? Very good. Next item, chief.
Okay, the last one is what's called an interim bond. For those unfamiliar with court processes, an interim bond happens when Berkley police take into custody someone who's wanted in another jurisdiction on a bondable offense. Obviously, it happens in reverse. It happens between all jurisdictions. There's a state lien system, a law enforcement information network system. Everybody's warrant would be put into there, and if we could get somebody who's wanted in Flint, anywhere, and vice versa. When that happens, we don't want to go through the expense, the trouble, the time of transporting prisoners back to another jurisdiction, or them coming to pick them up. And in our case, the same thing. We don't want to take officers' time and drive somewhere and pick up a prisoner, simply for a bondable defense. So we have the term interim bond. Okay, it's the time period between them coming into our custody and showing up somewhere else. What is necessary there now, because of a change in the banking rules that Mr. Sabuda is very familiar with, that recently happened within the past few months on what they will and will not accept at banks in the process, we now have to, after we take the person into custody, clear that person's ready to go, the cash, and it has to be cash for an interim bond. The cash is produced, either the prisoner had it or someone comes in with it. We make out the bond slip, have the person sign it, give that person a copy, include the bond slip with the money, the person is released to appear in that other jurisdiction's court at a specified date and time. Then we have to take the money to our treasury, and we have to deposit in a revenue account there. Then we have to produce a check request for the finance department to write a check out of our accounts to the other jurisdiction. That then has to be returned to our administrative clerk in the public safety department, who has to photocopy that check and attach it to, scan it into the file on the release. So we have a proper paper process. If you add up the time of our employees in that process, it adds up to something we need to charge for. Of the jurisdictions, one of them, it was around us, one of them was not applicable because they do not house prisoners. But we ended up with 3 that have no charges and 5 that have a $10 charge. So as we get into the average again for this process, here we are again at 10. Produces the median average again, not the mean, that would be different, but we seem to be able to say that this is quite appropriate, quite correct to now collect for this. Prior to a couple of months ago, it was much more simple, with the records administrator simply going and getting a money order, depositing the money in the bank, getting money, but we cannot do it that way anymore. So now we're stuck with a more time-consuming process in 3 different departments here. So we feel the $10 bond fee is appropriate and necessary.
How many of these do we deal with in a month?
8, 9, 10.
Any, Councilmember
Yes,
Baker?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. So to that process that you described, the change over the last couple of months, that was obviously probably not something of our own choosing. Is that a true statement?
Absolutely. If I may, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, the way the banking system was working, we could no longer go in and purchase a bond on an individual basis. So we have to, and this is what all the other municipalities are doing. This is no different. Going for the bond was different than going for the money order was different than what everybody else was doing. So we're kind of following in line as to what everyone else is doing now. But our banking institution would not allow us to do that anymore, so we had to find a new way of doing business. So this was the most efficient way to do it.
Right, thank you. And one question generally about all of these, is this, for these kinds of fees, would this be paid on services rendered, meaning if we were to do those PBTs or the DVDs or this stuff, would they pay on the spot, or do we invoice them later? How does that process work?
No, go ahead.
PBT's absolutely on the spot.
Yes.
Yes.
DVDs, CDs when they pick up, yes. Some jurisdictions require prepayment. We're considering that because oftentimes oh gee, I forgot, and no. And in the cases where we actually mail the discs, we want to have the money up. And in the case of the interim bond, obviously, the person is not being released unless the cash has been produced.
Right, thank you again.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
On the interim bond, it's very important to note that the money goes into trust. We have a trust fund. The money goes into trust. It does not commingle with, accounting-wise, does not commingle with our operations of the city. We keep that very distinct, very separate, so we can track that by individual posting bond. Okay, so it comes in, it goes out. We do not deal with the appropriation process here. This is something that if the cash is in the bank, or we're holding on to the cash, then we make the payment.
Right, thank you.
Very good. So is there consensus then for a $10 fee for interim bond processing? Seems to be consensus, agreeing with you again, Chief. So on all three items, there is concurrence to move forward.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Well, seeing no further items on the work session, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Big.
Thank you. I was just curious, next steps on this. Would we see this before us at a subsequent session? How would that work?
Yes, Your Honor, that's what I hope to do, is bring it to you at the next council meeting, unless you prefer that I hold it on for some reason.
I don't see any reason at
Okay.
all. I
Right.
think we should move it forward.
Thank you. Then we will be prepared.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right,
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Very good. Now is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Stedman,
Support.
support by Councilmember Kadeco. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Wyatt Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
And O'Dwyer.
Yes, the March 5th meeting of the 34th Council is adjourned.